Hello students, welcome to our live APS classes, and as all we know that this is our foundation course especially for the students from 9 to 12th. And in our today's live lecture we will start with our new topic, that is the chemical substances, nature and behavior, and these are the short notes for term 1 examination 2021. And in this video we cover chapter number 1, 2 and 3 from the topic that is chemical substances, nature and behavior. And this is the syllabus for the term 1 examination that is to be held in November 2021. So let us start with our chapter that is chemical substances, nature and behavior. And in these topics we cover some important topics regarding these topics, that is the chemical substances, nature and behavior, and this is the short revision for the term 1 examination that is to be held in November 2021. So let us start with our first topic, or the short notes, that is the chemical reactions. What do you mean by the term chemical reactions? Chemical reactions: the transformation of chemical substances into a new chemical substance by means of breaking of the bonds between the two different atoms is known as the chemical reaction. That means when there is a transformation of the chemical substances into a new chemical substance with the help of or by making and breaking a bonds between the two different atoms is known as the chemical reaction. कोई भी जो हम ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन करते हैं केमिकल सब्सटेंसेस के बीच में, that is into a new chemical substance by making and breaking of bonds between the two different atoms is known as the chemical reaction. Second one is signs of chemical reactions. What are the various signs of the chemical reactions? कौन से various signs हैं that are related with the chemical reactions? And these chemical reactions or these signs of chemical reactions, these factors denotes that a chemical reaction has taken place: change of state of substance, change of state of substance, change of state of substance, change of color of substance, change of color of substance. Third one is evolution of heat. Third one is evolution of heat. Fourth one is absorption of heat. Absorption of heat. Evolution of gas. Evolution of gas. And the last one is evolution of light. That means the signs of chemical reactions. And in these signs of chemical reactions, that means in shortly these factors denotes the chemical reaction has taken place: change of state of substance, change of color of substance, evolution of heat, absorption of heat, evolution of gas, and the last one is evolution of light. So these are the signs of the chemical reactions. Third one is chemical equation. What do you mean by the term chemical equation? That means the representation of the chemical reaction by means of symbols of substance in the form of formula is called as the chemical equation. For example, H2 plus O2 give rise to H2O, C plus H4 give rise to CH4. These are the examples of the chemical equation. That means the representation of the chemical reaction by means of symbols of a substance, that is in the form of formula, is called as the chemical equation. Next, what do you mean by the balanced chemical equation? After the chemical equation, the most important term is how to balance the chemical equation. That means there are some criteria, there are some important rules to balance a chemical equation. So a balanced chemical equation. So a balanced chemical equation has number atoms of each element equal on both left and right hand sides of the reaction. After that, when the reactant side is equal to the product side, after that we can say that that equation is known as the balanced chemical equation. When reactant is equal to the product, or when left hand side is equal to the right hand side of both the reactions, that reaction is known as balanced chemical equation. So according to the law of conservation of mass, mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. This is according to the law of conservation of mass, where mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in any chemical reactions. To obey this law, the total mass of the elements present in the reactant must be equal to the total mass of the elements present in the product. So this is according to the law of conservation of mass. That is, according to the law of conservation of mass, mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. And to obey this law, the total mass of the elements present in the reactant must be equal to the total mass of the elements present in the product. So this is according to the law of conservation of mass. Next, types of chemical reactions. What are the various types of the chemical reactions that are present in any chemical equation? So first type of the chemical reaction is the combination. And in combination reaction, when two elements or one element and one compound or two compounds combine to give one single product is known as combination reaction. That means when two elements or one element and one compound or two compounds combine to give one single product is known as कॉम्बिनेशन रिएक्शन. जब कोई दो एलिमेंट्स या एक एलिमेंट या फिर एक कंपाउंड या दो कंपाउंड्स आपस में कंबाइन कर जाते हैं और कंबाइन करने के बाद जब वो एक सिंगल प्रोडक्ट बनाते हैं, दैट इज नोन एज द कॉम्बिनेशन रिएक्शन. नेक्स्ट इज डिकम्पोजिशन रिएक्शन. कॉम्बिनेशन रिएक्शन जिसमें कहा कि हमने जब दो एलिमेंट्स या एक एलिमेंट या एक कंपाउंड या दो कंपाउंड्स आपस में कंबाइन कर जाते हैं, तो कंबाइन करने के बाद वो क्या देते हैं, एक सिंगल प्रोडक्ट देते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल H2 plus O2, when combined with each other they form H2O. H2O, that is 2H2O. So this is the combination reaction. Second one is the decomposition reaction. Decomposition reaction. This is the second type of the chemical reaction. That is the decomposition reaction. And in decomposition reaction, splitting of a compound into two or more simple products. Splitting of a compound into two or more simple products is known as decomposition reaction. जब हम split कर देते हैं compounds को दो या दो से अधिक simple products में, that reaction is known as the decomposition reaction. Next is displacement reaction. Displacement reaction. So, dear students, what do you mean by the term displacement reaction? First one is the combination reaction, when two elements or one element and one compound or two compounds combines to give one single product is known as the combination reaction. And the second one is decomposition reaction. So, splitting of a compound into two or more simple products is known as decomposition reaction. Next is displacement reaction. It takes place when a more reactive metal displaces a less reactive metal. So, displacement reactions are those reactions where more reactive metal displaces a less reactive metal is known as the displacement reaction. जिसमें more highly reactive metal जो होता है वो displace कर देता है less reactive metal को, that reaction is known as displacement reaction. Next is double displacement reaction. Next one is double displacement reaction. Double displacement reaction. Double displacement reaction. And in double displacement reaction, reactions in which ions are exchanged. Ions are exchanged. So in double displacement reaction, in which the ions are exchanged between the two reactants forming a new compounds, जहाँ पर ions जो होते हैं वो exchanged होते हैं between the two reactants, and when these ions are exchanged between the two reactants, after that they forming a new compound, and that new compound is called as the double displacement reaction. So here in the double displacement reaction, where the ions are exchanged between the two reactants and they form a new compound, that is called as the double displacement reaction. Next is precipitation reaction. Precipitation reaction. Precipitation reaction. So in precipitation reaction, the insoluble compound called as precipitate forms in this reaction. जो insoluble compounds होंगे उनको क्या कहा जाता है? Precipitate forms in this reaction. Next is exothermic reaction. This is the short term or short notes for the term 1 examination, especially for the class 10th. Exothermic reactions. So in exothermic reactions, reactions which produce energy are called as exothermic reactions. ऐसी reactions जिसमें energy produce होती है, that reactions are called as exothermic reactions. So reactions which produce energy is called as or are called as exothermic reactions, and most of the decomposition reactions are exothermic in nature. जितने भी decomposition reactions होते हैं, all are exothermic in nature. So this is the exothermic reactions. Next one is endothermic reactions. And in endothermic reactions, reactions which absorb energy. Endothermic reactions are those reactions which absorb energy. They are called as endothermic reactions. And most of the combination reactions are called as endothermic. Most of the combination reactions. Most of the combination reactions are called as combination reactions are called as endothermic reactions. Called as endothermic reactions. So endothermic reactions are those reactions which absorb energy and they are called as endothermic reactions, and most of the combination reactions are called as endothermic reactions. Next is oxidation reactions, and in oxidation reactions where the gain of oxygen or removal of hydrogen, where the gain of oxygen and removal of hydrogen or metallic elements form a compound is called as oxidation reactions. ऐसी reactions जिसमें ऑक्सीजन का गेन होता है और रिमूवल होता है हाइड्रोजन का या फिर मेटेलिक एलिमेंट्स का फ्रॉम अ कंपाउंड, दैट reactions are known as oxidation reactions. Next is reduction, and in reduction reactions where the addition of hydrogen and removal of oxygen from a compound is called as reduction. That means the reverse of oxidation is known as reduction. So addition of hydrogen and removal of oxygen from a compound is called as reduction reaction. Last one is the redox reaction. Last one is known as redox reaction. And in redox reaction, a chemical reaction where oxidation and reduction both takes place simultaneously. A reaction or a chemical reaction where both oxidation and reduction takes place simultaneously. They are known as redox reactions. For example, sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid give rise to NaCl. That means it displaces water, is to be displaced, NaCl plus water. So this is the example of redox reaction. Next is rusting. What do you mean by the term rusting? When iron reacts with oxygen and moisture, forms a red substance that is called as a rust. जब आयरन जो था वो रिएक्ट करता है ऑक्सीजन के साथ या फिर मॉइस्चर के साथ, जब वो ऑक्सीजन और मॉइस्चर के साथ रिएक्ट कर देता है आयरन, आफ्टर दैट इट फॉर्म्स अ रेड सब्सटेंस. It forms a red substance, and that red substance is called as rust. It's called rust. So when iron reacts with oxygen and moisture, forms a red substance that is called as a rust. Next is rancidity. Oil and fats, when get oxidized, oils 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 and fats, when get o fats when get oxidized on exposure to air, on exposure to air, show a change in taste and smell. So rancidity is the process where oils and fats, when get oxidized on exposure to air, show a change in the taste and the smell, and that process is known as rancidity. Next is corrosion. So metals, when attacked by the oxygen, water, acids, bases, or not bases but gases. So metals, when attacked by the oxygen, water, acids, gases present in air, changes its surface, which is called as the corrosion. I repeat again, corrosion is the term when metals are attacked by the oxygen, water, acid, gases present in the air, changes its surface, which is called as the corrosion. Next is, what are the characteristics of the chemical reactions? First characteristics of the chemical reaction is the evolution of gas. This is the first characteristic of the chemical reaction, and that characteristic is known as evolution of gas. So what do you mean by the term evolution of gas? The chemical reaction between the zinc, for example, for the explanation of the evolution of gas, we take a simple example, and that example is the chemical reaction, and that chemical reaction takes place between the zinc and dilute sulfuric acid. Dilute sulfuric acid is characterized by the evolution of the hydrogen gas. So this is your zinc that is in the solid form plus sulfuric acid that exists in the dilute form, and it forms zinc sulfate plus hydrogen gas. There is the evolution of the hydrogen gas. This is the evolution of the hydrogen gas. So the chemical reaction between the zinc and the dilute sulfuric acid is characterized by the evolution of the hydrogen gas, and that reaction is zinc solid plus sulfuric acid dilute, and it forms zinc sulfate, and there is the evolution of the hydrogen gas. Next important characteristic of the chemical reaction is change in color. The chemical reaction between the citric acid and the purple colored potassium permanganate. The chemical reaction between the citric acid and the purple colored potassium permanganate solution is characterized by the change in color, forms purple to colorless. So this is the change in the color, where the chemical reaction that occurs between the citric acid and the purple colored potassium permanganate solution, that is characterized by the change in the color from purple to colorless. That is from purple to colorless. Purple to colorless. So this is the change in the color. And the chemical reaction between the sulfur dioxide gas and acidified potassium dichromate. The reaction or the chemical reaction between the sulfur dioxide and the acidified potassium dichromate solution is characterized by a change in the color from orange to green. So this is the second example regarding the change in the color. First reaction occurs between the citric acid and the potassium permanganate, and this reaction is characterized by the change in color from purple to colorless. And the second example is the chemical reaction between the sulfur dioxide gas and the acidified potassium dichromate, that is K2Cr2O7. That solution is characterized by the change in color from orange to green. Orange to green. So this is the second characteristic of the chemical reaction, that is the change in color. Next important characteristic is change in the state of the substance. How can you change the state of the substance? So the combustion reaction of candle wax is characterized by change in the state. अगर हम combustion reaction में example लेते हैं candle wax की, so that is characterized by the change in the state from solid to liquid. जैसे ही आप candle को जलाते हैं तो उस टाइम जो उसकी जो combustion reaction होती है, that means जब वो candle melt होगी, that is converted from solid to liquid, and gas बिकॉज अ वैक्स इज सॉलिड, और वो गैस में भी कन्वर्ट होती है बिकॉज वैक्स इज अ सॉलिड. वाटर फॉर्म्ड बाय द कंबर्शन ऑफ वैक्स is a liquid at room temperature, whereas carbon dioxide produced by the combustion of the wax is a gas. So there are some chemical reactions which can show more than one characteristics. तो यहाँ पर ढेरों एग्जांपल्स हैं chemical reactions के जो कि शो करते हैं more than one characteristics. Next is change in temperature. Change in temperature. किस तरह से केमिकल रिएक्शन जो होती है वो टेम्परेचर को चेंज करती है, या टेम्परेचर के चेंज करने के साथ साथ केमिकल रिएक्शन में क्या चेंज आती है. तो अब चेंज इन स्टेट ऑफ सब्सटेंस है, तो जिसमें कंबर्शन रिएक्शन जो होती है कैंडल वैक्स की, वो उसको हम कैरेक्टराइज कर सकते हैं बाय द चेंज इन द स्टेट फ्रॉम सॉलिड टू लिक्विड एंड गैस. बिकॉज वैक्स इज सॉलिड, वाटर फॉर्म्ड बाय द कंबर्शन ऑफ द वैक्स इज लिक्विड एट room temperature, whereas carbon dioxide gas produced by the combustion of the gas is the combustion of the wax is a gas. Change in temperature. The chemical reaction between the quicklime water to form slaked-lime. जो एक chemical reaction है, that is the change in the temperature. That means the chemical reaction between the quicklime and water, after that it forms the slaked-lime. That is characterized by the change in the temperature, that is which is rise in the temperature. So this is the change in the temperature. So the chemical reaction between the zinc granules, the reaction between the zinc granules and dilute sulfuric acid, dilute sulfuric acid is also characterized by the change in the temperature, which is rise in temperature. Next is formation of precipitates. The chemical reaction between the sulfuric acid, that is formation of precipitate. Formation of precipitate. The chemical reaction between the sulfuric acid and barium chloride. The reaction between the sulfuric acid and the barium chloride solution is characterized by the formation of white precipitate of the barium sulfate. So this is barium chloride, that is in aqueous form, plus sulfuric acid, that is also in aqueous form, and it displaces chlorine. It forms barium sulfate, that is in the solid form, and it forms the precipitate. Plus there is the release of hydrochloric acid, that is in the aqueous form. So this is the formation of the precipitate. Next is oxidation and reduction reactions. Oxidation, addition of oxygen or non-metallic element or removal of hydrogen or metallic element form a compound is known as oxidation. So oxidation is a reaction where there is the addition of the oxygen or non-metallic element and removal of hydrogen or metallic element form a compound is known as oxidation reaction. This is known as oxidation. Elements or compounds in which oxygen or non-metallic element is added or hydrogen or metallic element is removed, they are known as oxidized or are called to be oxidized. So elements or compounds in which oxygen or non-metallic element is added and hydrogen or metallic element is removed, they are called as oxidized. It's called as oxidized. Next is the reduction. So addition of hydrogen or metallic element or removal of oxygen or non-metallic element forms a compound that is called as reduction, where there is the addition of hydrogen or metallic element or removal of oxygen or non-metallic element forms a compound is called as reduction. Addition of oxygen or non-metallic element or removal of hydrogen और metallic element forms a compound. जहां पर हम addition करते हैं ऑक्सीजन की या non-metallic element की, या फिर हम removal करते हैं हाइड्रोजन का या metallic elements का, that process is known as oxidation. Reduction क्या है? जिसमें हम addition करते हैं हाइड्रोजन की या फिर metallic element की या फिर removal of oxygen or non-metallic element is known as reduction. So the compounds or elements which goes under the reduction is called as reduced. ठीक है, ऐसे कंपाउंड्स या एलिमेंट्स जो कि रिडक्शन की प्रोसेस के अंदर जाते हैं, उस प्रोसेस को हम क्या बोलते हैं? रिड्यूस्ड. इट इज नोन एज रिड्यूस्ड. Oxidation reduction takes place together. Oxidation and reduction, both the processes takes place simultaneously or take place together. Oxidizing agent, the substances which gives oxidizing agent. The substances which give oxygen for oxidation is called as oxidizing agent. The substances which gives oxygen, the substances which gives oxygen for oxidation is called oxidizing agent. The substances which removes hydrogen is also called as oxidizing agent. ऐसे substances जो hydrogen को remove कर देते हैं, they are called as oxidizing agents. Next is reducing agent. The substances which give hydrogen for reduction is called as reducing agent. The substances which gives hydrogen for reduction is called as reducing agent. And the substances which removes oxygen is also called as reducing agent. ऐसे substances जो remove करते हैं oxygen को, they are known as reducing agent. Some other important topics, that is precipitation reaction. The reactions in which precipitate is formed by the mixing of the aqueous solution of the two salts is called as precipitation reaction. For example, AgNO3, that is silver nitrate, that exists in the form of aqueous form. NaCl, that is sodium chloride, it also exists in the aqueous form, and it forms AgCl, that is silver chloride, and it forms the precipitate silver chloride, plus NaNO3, that is sodium nitrate, that exists in the form of aqueous form. So this is the precipitation reaction, AgNO3 plus NaCl, and it displaces so AgCl, that is silver chloride, and it forms a precipitate plus NaNO3, that is sodium nitrate. Next one is neutralization reaction. Neutralization reaction. So the reaction in which an acid reacts with a base to form a salt. ऐसी reactions जिसमें acid जो होते हैं वो react करते हैं base के साथ, और जब वो reactions में acid जो होते हैं वो react कर जाते हैं base के साथ, तो it forms the salt and the water by the exchange of ions is called as the neutralization reaction. For example, this is the sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid, that is in the aqueous form, and it also exists in the aqueous form, and it forms the sodium chloride plus water, that is in the liquid form, and it exists in the aqueous form, and it forms sodium chloride. This is hydrochloric acid, and this is sodium hydroxide. This is the neutralization reaction. When an acid reacts with the base to form salt and water by the exchange of the ions, that reaction is known as neutralization reaction. So this is all about the short notes for the term 1 examination that is to be held in November 2021, and our today's topic for the class 10th, and the subject is science, especially from the chemistry part, and the name of the topic is the chemical substances, nature and behavior. So best wishes for your final exam, that is term 1 examination, and कल हम आपके साथ बेटे दोबारा नए वीडियो लेक्चर में नए इंपॉर्टेंट नोट्स के साथ दोबारा मिलेंगे, जिसमें हम शॉर्ट नोट्स का ही टॉपिक लेंगे, स्पेशली फॉर द टर्म 1 एग्जामिनेशन 2021. So once again, good night to all the students who joined with us our live APS classes.